a World Youth Skills Day 2021. We can see all of our distinguished guests have joined our program. Let me introduce all of our dignitaries one by one. I take the privilege, first of all, to introduce our chief guest, Honorable Minister of Planning, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Mr. M.A. Mannan, MP. We have with us our respected panelist, Dr. M.D. Moshiur Rahman, Vice Chancellor, National University, Mr. Dulal Krishna Shaha, Executive Chair, National Development Authority, Prime Minister's Office, Ms. Rashida K. Chaudhary, Executive Director, CAMPE, Mr. Sudipta Mukherjee, Resident Representative of UND Bangladesh, Ms. Lotte Kejar, Chief Technical Advisor of ILO, International Labour Organization. We have with us Mr. Anish Chaudhary, Policy Advisor, A2I Program, with us as the moderator of this session. And we'll have Ms. Van Nguyen, Deputy Representative of UNDP, who will actually offer the vote of thanks at the end of the day. Distinguished dignitaries and audiences, we have also with us Mr. Yasir Ajman, Chief Executive Officer of Grameenphone, who will make the keynote presentation today. Before I invite Yasir Ajman Bhai to kick off his keynote presentation, let me take a couple of minutes to speak. You know, this World Youth Skills Day, this day actually gives us a kind of opportunity to revisit the skill set for the youth. And also it also gives us opportunity to rethink, revise, and reframe the skill sets that we can really consider for youth. And we always also take the opportunity to make the maximization of the skills for the youth in this day. We all know this World Youth Skills Day was declared by the UN General Assembly in December 2014. The objective is to provide today's young people with better socioeconomic conditions in order to tackle unemployment and job challenges. The World Youth Skills Day stresses the importance of technical and vocational education and training in giving young people the opportunity to develop their skills and to promote their transition to work. For young people around the world, including Bangladesh, this World Youth Skills Day is very significant. We all know youth are a determining factor in social change, economic development, and technological innovation. Today we are observing this World Youth Skills Day, and we particularly consider in our country context. Before I hand over to Yasir Ajman Bhai for his keynote presentation, I just want to put a remark, quoting 2-3 points for our consideration. We all know that our country is passing through a population dividend, and this has been started last decade, and we know that it will be continuing next 1.5 decades, and we have to really capitalize this population dividend. And at the same time, we all know our country is now in a kind of transition, in a graduation process of MIC, middle income country tier. And in these two contexts, we also know COVID has appeared a kind of global challenge. And that has also put a kind of huge challenge for our country and in our economic growth trend. And particularly this COVID has also put an enormous challenge for particularly the youth, who are now, many of them are out of formal education system. So with this context and the background, we are observing this World Youth Skills Day. I believe in today's discussion, our Yasir Ajman Bhai will make the presentation, and following the presentation, we expect our dignitaries and the panelists will have a very thoughtful discussion, and this discussion will lead us some policy recommendation, which we believe in coming days, UNDP and Grameenphone together will carry on for translating those possible policy actions into implementation together with the policy makers. So with this note, I don't want to linger anymore. I now invite Yasir Ajman, Mr. Yasir Ajman, CEO of Grameenphone, to make his keynote speech. Over to you, Yasir Ajman bhai.
Thank you very much, Assadujaman Bhai, and for your presentation of our distinguished guest today. A very rich panel, very rich presence of the guest. I do thank for all of their kind presence today. And assalamu alaikum and very good evening once again to you all. As Assadujaman Bhai mentioned, just today is 15th of July, and we celebrate as the World Youth Skills Day. On this day particularly, we celebrate the power of our youth and look for ways to support them through upskilling opportunities. And what do you mean by upskilling? You know, it's like it is basically preparing them for the next, for their future, the future of our nation. We this year, as Assadujaman mentioned, that we are into a very challenging context, and this is even more important for that we prepare them for the upcoming future. No matter what, whether this being celebrated globally, our demography in Bangladesh, what we believe, that demands that we take this agenda up serious, and we put our concentrated effort from all the parties. And when we mean all the parties, basically is the private sector, public sector, development agencies all together, so that we can really create some impact into the society for our youth, future, and make them future ready with the right skill set. I thank the collaboration between Grameenphone and UNDP to initiate this program on this very special day under the umbrella of Get Future Ready. This is hosting various initiatives, and we have seen that yesterday and today there were other programs being carried out, and a lot of input from those programs we have already captured to take forward the discussion. And also we'll discuss today, as Assadujaman Bhai mentioned, to take whether we can take some action and collectively on this very important day and a very important agenda for Bangladesh. Under this program, multiple online dialogues, as I mentioned, has already been carried. And I would like to present few slides as my keynote for this event today, which is titled as Get Future Ready, Need for Skills, which is extremely important for us to see our future is fulfilling and we are reaching to the ambition Bangladesh government has set for 2041. If you see the slides, I'm at times missing this, you know, it's coming and going back, but just a minute, okay. Bashar, slides are up there.
Yes, slides are up there.
Yes, we can see. Yes, Bhai.
Yeah, I can't see. Okay, let me take them my slides. Sorry for that. It's not coming in my screen. I don't know. Okay. If you can, okay, I take from my note then. Slides are in front of me as well, but I believe that same slide is what I've sent.
We can see the slide is that rocketing economic growth.
Okay, right. So I have this with me, even though it's not here in my screen. We, as I was just mentioning, you know, it's like Bangladesh is rightly present in the amid of this, you know, COVID situation, the economic growth we have seen so far, the tremendous growth we have seen so far in Bangladesh, and the demography we have in our country. It's an unprecedented GDP growth over, you know, 7% since 2016. We all know Bangladesh has been growing at a tremendous pace for the last decade, and uninterrupted economic prosperity was halted only by the advert of COVID-19, what we have seen. And we believe that we will come out of this challenge. We are facing it right, and we are tackling it right, and we see that we will come out of this and we will progress. And then we should not be stuck with this challenge now. Our per capita income actually has rose from USD 750 to 2,227. Higher than India. You know, we all are proud of this. Only serves to show how the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister has set us towards the right growth trajectory. We moved from, you know, LIC, low income country, to middle income country rank in 2015, much earlier than the targeted date of 2021, and expected to formally graduate from LDC in 2014. We are so proud of this. It's like, and this has not just happened from nowhere. We truly believe, behind this, there are a lot of things was set right from the able leadership. One of those, we talk about Digital Bangladesh, solid progress made to make Digital Bangladesh a wide range of services in diverse fields. Today, we are now seeing that being conducted virtually through ICT facilities now available extensively throughout the country. The prudent strategic planning cycle, it's like we have our honorable chief guest today, the planning minister, 8 fiscal year planning in action, even in COVID period. And it includes the themes which focuses on manufacturing-led growth, agricultural diversification. I see now the slides are coming. Thank you. Yes, it's clear now. And modern service sector ICT-based entrepreneurships and overseas employment. Perspective Plan 2041. We all, I think all we are present here, we got to know about this and go through this. A vision for future Bangladesh, aspiration to become a high-income nation, to remove the poverty entirely from the country by 31 at the level of 3%, and then by 41, we are out of the extreme poverty. With that goal in mind, we are also on track to eliminate extreme poverty as this perspective plan talked about. Standing today, we talk about 2031, 2041. It's our future, it's our youth, and we need a future-ready generation, a future-ready nation to fulfill our dreams laid by the current government through 2041 perspective plan. That's what we call that, get future ready to deliver on this ambition. We need to harness our youth dividend to make this future growth journey a successful one. If you see that what I've just talked about, that the immense journey we have taken over the last 50 years and the recent economic growth trend, and then if you see for the next 50 years, this 33% of our Bangladeshi total population represents youth. And if you can nurture them right, if you can prepare them future as a future ready, we shall able to basically deliver the dream we have for the next future 50 years. This demographic dividend, will actually last a maximum to 20 to 30 years into a country. In other words, by 2040, the opportunity to achieve Bangladesh's economic growth at lightning speed by utilizing the demographic dividend will actually begin to decline because we will start seeing the aged population. But these opportunities there for us till 2020. And so we are so nicely positioned, and it will happen if we prepare our future generation, future ready, and this 20 to 30 years, like what we see the opportunity till 2040, and our perspective plan talks about 2041. These are coming together, and that's why it's so important that we take this opportunity and build this nation for the future. And a strong government commitment is visible to drive youth transformation efforts. Government is taking, that several policies like National Skill Development Policy and revamping the National Technical and Vocational Framework to address this skill gap. What we see at the same time, you see that approximately 2.2 million youth entering into workforce every year. And Bangladesh must be able to absorb this youth into the labor market if it wants to hit the growth targets to reach, upper middle income country and eventually high income country by 2041. We are seeing disruption in our education, in our skill development sector due to the recent pandemic. Around 42 million children continue to be affected by COVID-19 school closures in Bangladesh, according to World Bank data. And this is as one side, this is a big challenge. The other side, this is an opportunity. And this is what we need to talk about, that how do you come out of this and prepare the nation as a future nation, ready nation. we see that more than 150,000 migrant workers returned over the past year. And at the same time, when we see that this is happening, we are also seeing that government has already taken initiatives for social and economic rehabilitation of returning workers. And when they are returning, we need to build them with the new skill set so that they can come back to the economy in our country. We, over the last 2 days, we are having a couple of sessions, and those are basically need for skills. We had yesterday what our youth say, actually a forum discussion, and we have taken insights from youth consultants. We believe that, you know, we are leading different companies. In Grameenphone we are working, we have UNDP, we came together, we are trying to create that platform of this discussion. But it is important that we hear our youth, what actually they think, and what are the issues and problems they are facing, and how can we address those, you know, to help them to get future ready. And when we were talking yesterday, 30 youth of wide demographic variation, starting from, you know, metro like Dhaka to even someone from Khagrachari were connected into this dialogue. And what they tried to say that, you know, this opportunity needs to be have an inclusive approach. If you talk about that 33% of our population are youth, and then if you only define programs and platforms for a very niche segment, those have access today to internet in the metro cities, we will not able to basically unleash the potential we are talking about. So we really need to talk about youth in rural Bangladesh. Those are actually facing connectivity challenges, do not have actually the access to internet and devices, and it's also responsibility the industry I am working for. We heard them, and we heard that females feel less equipped and with support and guidance. We cannot keep the half of our youth out of this. We must think that how we create a safety net for them, and we create a support and guidance for them. We don't think that it's only the boys that will take the nation forward. If you'd like to have that sort of vision of coming out entirely from the poverty. People with disabilities, they also talked a lot, and we heard their voice. We need to design solution thinking them. You know, if we are not inclusive, we won't able to make us future ready. And that's the message they're giving. They are giving a message that the training program needs to be impactful. Those we are into the remote areas. They need to they should able to access those materials, those training programs, and we should define those in a way that they can learn out of it and they can contribute to the economy. They are talking about ICT infrastructure. They are talking about the government and private sector collaborations. They are hearing a lot. This day is being celebrated in many platforms and many forums. But they're talking about how we can amplify actually these platforms coming together and creating synergistic effect between, you know, private sector, public sector, and development sector together. So more collaborative research on curriculum, trainings, and communication. They're talking about how can we help them to build their emotional intelligence, you know, mental health awareness. It's not only, you know, it's like having a hard skill set. It also they need to be able to communicate, they need to learn, they need to be able to network, and storytelling. These are important. Strengthening research on educational skills, you know, to guide them that what is important. So these are the things they have talked about over the last, you know, we heard through our webinars yesterday while we are coming to this final session. We have also taken consultations from the experts in this industry. You know, it's like we had an webinar today from the with the presence of the policymakers and different other participants. I must thank Almas Kavir of BASIS, Shamim Hassan, the ex-president of BASIS. They were participating, and they talked about the future need in this skill. They talked about skills 4.0. So when we are talking about fourth industrial revolution, what sort of skills you need, you know, to really unleash the potential out of this and take the country forward. When we see that Bangladesh government talking about 2041 perspective plan, this is talking about that we need to ride on technology in education, in agriculture, in health, all these sectors. We need to take the benefit of in a metro city to the rural areas. And how do you take the benefit of metro city in the rural areas? It's possible when you take the technology at the core and in a digital way you take these benefits and break the inequalities which is there in our society. So, and that's what they're talking about, that if you'd like to basically capitalize on our demographic dividend, if you'd like to use our youth and make them future ready for our future nation, and unless the potential to the fullest extent, we need to have these skills for 4.0. The future work demands whole new skill set, and we are seeing that now if you look globally, the situation is rapidly changing, and it has already changed significantly, and we can find hundreds of literature articles. Those are basically focusing on future skill requirements, and there are insights that future work environment and the companies will see that 50% of the resources need to re-skilled by 2015. So it's not a challenge only that the today's youth, it's a challenge for us as well, for our sustainability, for our continuation to contribute in the society through these technology companies, or be it from the development sector. We need to upskill ourselves. We will not able to sustainable if we are not able to conversant out of these skills. To emerge successfully from the current crisis, organization will need to nurture their employees, digital, cognitive, social, emotional, and also adaptability and resilience skill set we need to see. The new ways of work, we already today we are participating from so many different points. We used to be together in one place and talk about. So this is an emergence of a new way of work, and in this new way of work, the way we will see the different industries changing. We'll of course need new skill set. Today, the global companies like Google and Microsoft, they are launching their skill set requirement. They are not talking about you are coming from this university with this graduation or certificate. They are talking about if you are skilled with our skill set program, and if you have that certification, you will get the job. That's a big change. That's coming out of the traditional way of looking into the skill set development and getting into the job sector. How do you basically we envision Bangladesh future ready youth? If I give my view, it's like this is my perspective only. Before I end, I would like to leave it for the discussion that I talk about that everyone needs to have basic ICT knowledge. When I talk about basic ICT knowledge, why? Because I'm talking about the mass. I'm talking about someone today sitting in my village in Gochia, in Sunamganj Dirai Thana, may not be having the opportunity to come to an university in Dhaka or going to abroad, but with the connectivity solution, he should able to access the quality education, quality skill set. He should able to contribute wherever he is sitting there. And that requires a basic ICT knowledge to access such quality education, quality skills. I talk about some specialized domain expertise. And when I talk about domain expertise, I would like to talk about it's by technical knowledge. It is extremely important that we will have arts, other expertise, in subject experts to take the society forward. It cannot be that all technical people will take a society forward. It needs a mix. But at this point of time, if we talk about to tackle the challenge we will face in coming days, take this 50 years of successful journey towards the next 50 years, we need the technical knowledge to be focused. We need right cognitive skills. People need to be able to learn, people need to be able to communicate. Storytelling is extremely important. People need to be able to connect with each other. And this communication, fluent communication to uphold their ideas, to sell their ideas, to sell their products, and thinking, thoughts, process, and everything. It is extremely important that they are able to communicate. Possesses integrity and right values. That this is something, it's like no-brainer. And this we should not talk about, but this is extremely important. That if we are not having the transparency, honesty, the right values, what we learn in our school and colleges in early days, if you are not able to take this forward in your life, you'll see the wall. Your growth will not be sustainable. So it's very important beside these hardcore technical skills. and also having a global mindset that we should not think about the border of Bangladesh. We should think the opportunity from what I mentioned, that my village, Gochia Indirai Thana in Sunamganj, he needs to think Dhaka, not only Dhaka, beyond Dhaka, how we can go beyond border. And someone sitting in Dhaka also, how we can go beyond border. So we need to have that global mindset, because the learning opportunities are there, and we need, as a whole together, as this team, what we will discuss, if you can jot down some action points to really build them with the right skill set. So we sincerely appreciate today's the participation from all of you. I'm just, as a keynote speaker, I'm putting some thoughts here, the importance of it, but I look forward that participation from all the stakeholders involved, from the government, private and development sector, so that we can collaborate together and take the necessary action for the future Bangladesh. My note ends here, and I look forward for the discussion. But before I leave for the discussion, I just want to have a small announcement that to start this journey, that we need to start somewhere. We may have a big ambition that 4 million, 5 million, 10 million youth to get upskilled with the new skill set, but we can start with one small step today. And that's announcement I would like to give today, that Grameenphone and UNDP together is launching a series of nation wide youth on some of the topics I mentioned in the previous slide. And this is just the beginning. Initially, we'll invite a few industry leaders, deliver 1 hour master classes for our youth, and we'll do this live broadcasting, these master classes for the greater youth community. This is a small step, and with that start, I believe together we can amplify and make our youth future ready, and make our nation future ready to deliver Bangladesh government's 2041 perspective plan ambitions, because that really inspires us a lot, that dream is something is achievable because we have this youth. And if we can make them future ready, if we get future ready with the new skill set, we'll see we will be there. And I am so encouraged to see the participants from our distinguished guests today, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to take some action out of today's panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yasir Azman Bhai, for your very insightful presentation, I would say, because I was really very deeply following your presentation, and I see you have captured a wide range of aspects of the youth and skills and the future expectation and the requirement. And you also posed a huge question for all of us, how much our youth are ready for changing the future challenge. And I also see that you felt that we all not only need to prepare our youth for the future, as well as the employer side also need to be really prepared for and also come forward. And as I was expecting from my welcome remarks, that I am really expecting that from today's discussion, we will really be able to come up with a set of recommendations, which will be really helping all of us to carry it forward, so that we don't really pose question, we don't really pose recommendation, rather we also work together to translate it into action. And today, I really feel honored to have our diverse and very rich panelists, and we have a representative from education. I mean, we have a Vice Chancellor of National University who are really producing graduates every year in the market. On the other hand, we have Rashida K. Chaudhary, who is an educationist, and also we have a National Skills Development Authority, who are also a kind of government entity who can really make a kind of huge contribution in creating an employable youth force in our country. And we have a representative from UNDP and ILO who are very much in the action. So with this note, I really now want to hand it over to Mr. Anil Chaudhary, Policy Advisor A2I, for moderating the discussion. And we are really looking forward for a very live and engaging discussion. Over to you, Anil Bhai.
Thank you, Asad Bhai. Today's chief guest, our Honorable Minister of Planning, Mr. M. Mannan MP, keynote speaker, Mr. Yasir Azman, CEO of Grameenphone, respected panelists, Dr. Mohammad Mushur Rahman, Vice Chancellor of National University, Mr. Dulal Krishna Shaha, Executive Chairman, National Skills Development Authority, Prime Minister's Office, Ms. Rashida K. Chaudhary, Executive Director of CAMPE, Ms. Lotte Kaiser, Chief Technical Advisor, ILO, and Shrivita Mukherjee, Resident Representative, UNDP Bangladesh. We'll also be joined by Ms. Van Nayan, Deputy Resident Representative, UNDP, soon. Good evening to you all. We've heard a fantastic presentation from Mr. Yasir Azman, who covered the perspectives from all sides: students, employers, educators, trainers. But if you look at what the world is going through today, the pandemic has led to a dramatic loss of human life worldwide, which presented an unprecedented challenge to public health, food systems, and the world of work. Millions of enterprises face an existential threat. Nearly half of the world's 3.3 billion global workforce are at the risk of losing their livelihoods. Without the means to earn an income during lockdowns, many are unable to feed themselves and their families. For most people, no income means no food, or at best, less food and less nutritious food. But at the same time, the COVID crisis has created an unprecedented opportunity for an innovative future. Science, technology, and innovation are the drivers of this change and can also be the means of achieving a sustainable, equitable, and resilient future for both human civilization and the biosphere. As Azman Bhai pointed out, Bangladesh is at a unique stage in its development journey, experiencing unprecedented economic growth that we're all very proud of, that we have seen massive growth in the last 10 to 12 years. And the 2 decades that we are looking forward towards the 2041, the country will probably experience even an accelerated pace of change, and that will be rapid and transformational. It will have to cope with shifts in agriculture, trade and industry, education and healthcare, transportation and communication, in the way work will change and how businesses conduct will also change. To achieve the vision of being a developed nation by 2041, the target that our Honorable Prime Minister has set before us, UNDP and Grameen Phone believe that we need to mobilize our demographic dividend, as we just discussed, through whole of society collaborative measures. So one sector or one party cannot do this. It really requires the whole of society to come together. UNDP and GP will be working together to transfer the millions of Bangladeshi workforce and enable them on the right track to access new economic opportunities and accelerate the journey of Bangladesh towards our Vision 2041. Now, a few questions come to mind. As a moderator, I have the privilege to ask questions. So what does being future ready really mean? I think Azman Bhai talked about some of the parameters. What does the future look like? We didn't pay enough attention that our RMG workers went from 80% female to about 53% female. Why? Because automation in that sector needed skills that only the male workers could provide. So what does that mean for how we're skilling our female students and workers? Most of our employers prioritize communication skills as the most important skill, whereas students and educators place that as the least important skill in their education institution. What does that mean? What skills do we need in the urban areas, in the rural areas, for our migrant workers? We know that 2/3 of occupations that we will see in 2030 don't exist yet. We saw employment and occupations emerge in the last 5 years that did not exist 5 years ago. So what are these new occupations that will emerge in 2030? How much do we know about them? How do we plan for them when we're talking about skilling, reskilling, and upskilling? We don't have a crystal ball, but we want to build one. We have a fantastic panel with deep experience and insight and vision for the future. So Azman Bhai talked about collaboration and action. So I think today we want to see commitment for action towards all our panelists, and we'll build the future together. Let me first come to Mr. Dural Krishna Shah, Executive Chairman, NSDA. The core purpose of NSDA is to coordinate among skills development ministries, departments, or organizations, as well as industries. Besides forecasting of the future job market, developing strategies and policies are also key roles of NSDA. As Azman had pointed out, every year over 2 million young people are joining the labor force, and 1.7 million of them receive skills training from various public-private organizations. So a very large segment get training. But the irony is that a large portion of the skilled young people fail to get decent jobs, even though they receive skills training. Underemployment is over 19% in Bangladesh. In this situation, how can NSDA play a coordination role to ensure market-driven skills, and I highlight again, market-driven skills, by different public-private organizations so that the youth can get decent employment just after the training? Mr. Shah, over to you.
Thank you. Honorable Planning Minister, Mr. Mannan MP, and honorable guests, very good evening to everybody. This is a very good question. You know, NSD is a very new authority. We start our journey from February 2019. Main functions of NSD is to coordinate skill-related activities of different ministries, organizations, NGOs, private sectors to control the quality of skill training, to assessment according to standard and curriculum of concerned occupation, to involve more young generation with the skill-related activities. Your question is, and also Azman Bhai also present his presentation, the 2 million or 2.2 million young people joining labor force every year. But there is a skill gap is remaining there. Why this skill gap? We should not maintain any industry linkage. Industry and institution, they should not make any relation. We said every year apprenticeship system is available, but practically it is not available. Why this gap? Various ministries, divisions working on various skill development activities, but skill gap is remaining. On the one hand, particularly the modern manufacturing and service sectors is experiencing acute shortage of skilled workers. On the other hand, there is high unemployment rate and joblessness among young people, particularly among educated young people. So gap is remaining. Why this gap? Training, not need-based and market-driven. Curriculum not competent-based. Training center do not have industrial atmosphere. No proper evaluation, training, and quality. No connectivity between education sector and industry. Scarcity of quality teachers as per industrial requirement. So we have to address it. What we have to do? We need demand-driven skill training. Now it is containing supply-driven skill training. There is no survey. There is no research. There is not accurate information. Strong industry linkage should be established. Enhancement of training quality. Vertical and horizontal integration of skill graduations needed. Resilience and adaptability of skill graduates is also. Popularization of skill training also needed. Skill training may be via simulations. Speed of technology, both rural and urban areas, is also needed. Development of digital contents, online trainings, and assessments also needed. Digitalization for smaller business and other attention to skilling for digital entrepreneurship, including reskilling. government and private sector collaboration is needed. First, I want to say that this is a new institution. We're trying to establish ourselves. We're doing our preparation phase. Due to COVID, there are lots of problems prevailing everywhere, in our country also. But COVID has some positive impact also. According to ILO and the World Bank, 2021, distance training has become the most common way of imparting skills. Pandemic has spread freelancing within Bangladesh due to the outbreak of COVID-19. According to ICT division, country 6.5 lakh freelancers annually earning $1 million. Job opportunities enhanced due to pandemic in the field of programmer, security consultant, engineering, system administrator, software engineering, pharmaceuticals manufacturing, and medical services, etc. So scope is also new scope is here, but we should prepare our young generation. We have to work. We need a cooperation. Every sector, including government, private, and also NGOs. Thank you. Is there any question here?
Thank you, Mr. Shah. I think questions will start flowing in, and I'll repeat them as they come in to the chat box and the Q&A box. Let me go to our second panelist, Dr. Mushir Rahman, VC of National University. It's a massive university that you administer, Dr. Rahman. So 6 lakh graduates come out of university every year. 33% of them remain unemployed for quite some time. A National University graduate, from the studies that we have seen, has to apply for at least 17 jobs to get an employment, and 47% of the National University graduates need about 3 years to get a decent job. Now, in terms of the skills development that National University produces, how can you make those skills much more market ready in terms of changing the curriculum? Because you are in the tertiary education, you are the biggest name in town. So what can National University do to change curriculum and make it more market ready?
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. I'm really delightful to have the opportunity to be part of this webinar. And Honorable Minister and other distinguished guests are here. Very good evening. In fact, the term you have used, market, and that market, I think, is the possibility, and market is the main problem of this current world system. That is my personal feeling, because the whole world is connected, and this post-industrial era are fully equipped, maintained, controlled, and administered by market. And this market creates inequality and also contribute to make a big challenge in ideological perspective, even with the spirit of the construction of Bangladesh as a separate state. The father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who constituted this country and struggled for a long period, basically against inequality. And through a process of absence of democratization and process of militarization, we have created a structured inequality-based society that creates different education system, especially in the primary level, and we get very different type. Sometimes English medium, some are from rural madrasa background, primary education, And along with these students, we just get a tertiary level, a huge number of students in in different public universities, along with national university. And this structured society, which is really fully inequality based, and and from different background, we face many difficulties, especially the ICT education that we claim today. But practically, due to this education system, especially in primary level, we are getting different students from different background with the limitation of this ICT knowledge and other, even the language skill and so on. So it's really hard to continue or to implement the new courses, and especially the ICT-based courses and need-based or market-based courses. Right beside, this is a very alarming, I think, to me at least, it's alarming, especially for higher education, that we all are talking about the market-based education. And it's really very important for us for development, the so-called economic growth. But if you think about the philosophical base of the country, to make a patriot generation, market is not important. Rather, philosophical base is far, more important. Otherwise, what already we have experienced that from different public university, we got many highly educated bureaucrats, officers, planners, but corruption is there. So there is a big missing that when we are producing this type of highly educated or a graduate or master's or PhD postdoc holder, number of experts, and they are getting job into administration and other sectors. They are, certainly they are habituated with the corruption and other irregularities. Then what is the outcome to make this highly educated generation in a state of making a really patriot generation based on philosophical base, who will uphold the spirit of nationalism, democracy, socialism, and secular practices. So at least to me, it's very important to create our generation side by side along with philosophical basis who will love their country. Otherwise, only getting this type of ICT knowledge without the philosophical base, without making them patriot, this group will make a different deviant society and structurally divided society that will again invite or create a good market, not a developed country. So we don't want to make a market-based state. Rather, it should be welfare-oriented and state-oriented nation that we need to bring all those higher education along with the, patriot generation and technologically advanced generation. To make a combination, national universities really working for it. We have introduced a subject for all, that is the emergence of Bangladesh, and side by side we are going to introduce ICT and language courses for our students, and we have planned to introduce 10 or 12 or 15, if it is possible, sort of short program and diploma programs for students. But I'm afraid, finally, whether we'll get fund for teachers, who will really implement this program, as because we had introduced so many honors and master's courses earlier, and now from the administration part and other parts, people are telling us that unnecessarily you have introduced so many honors and master's courses, but that was needed from many corners. And certainly, if we again go for this type of short programs and diploma programs, but there is no fund and good teachers who will be really equipped and trained from abroad, along with that type of as an expert teacher. If we fail to introduce this type of program, then this program will again criticized. So we'll have to go very carefully to afford this type of programs and to bring all these students under this type of short programs and diploma. Definitely, we will have to follow need-based education. But my point is, already we are very structured. We are going through a inequality-based society. Equity is absent almost there, and education is divided into separate sections, and it creates really alarming situation. So we need to rethink about only focusing on the market-based education. Rather, we need to focus on the philosophical base that is very much related with the speed or creation of Bangladesh as a separate state. So I want to focus on these two things: the philosophical base and technological advancement. Definitely, starting from the hunting and gathering societies to tillage societies, that is post-industrial, or the soft world. It has many diverse claims, but we'll have to keep in our mind that even the first world or the so-called developed world, they are not quite happy along with this ICT experts and students. Sometimes it creates fundamentalist and other leisure group. So main thing is to give students a sense of patriotism, sense of belongingness, and they need to bring definitely with this type of technological advancements that will ensure the enhance of socialism, capitalism, and nationalism that is our country based. So these are my main points and feelings, and I am here really to hear from our honorable minister, who have big experiences, and he's very keen and very much thoughtful on these things. So we are really waiting for his speech as well. And I again give thanks to all of you for inviting me in such a type of program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman. I pointed out something very important, the philosophical base of education. A friend of mine recently reminded me that the Nazi concentration camps were actually designed by the most brilliant scientists. So you don't get that humane element unless you put that philosophical basis. But at the same time, I think you also pointed out that the technological advancement, the communication skills that we need to have to be market ready. I think it is an unavoidable fact that students have to be market ready. So the combination of philosophy and being market ready, I don't see a discord between the two. I think we can cleverly combine the two of them. So I don't think that will be a problem. And with your leadership, I think we can provide that combination to these 6 lakh graduates every year. Recently, we had a discussion with our Honorable Education Minister and the Deputy Minister on these issues. So I think we will talk to you further on this. And this collaboration between UNDP and GP can actually help your mission as well. May I go to Ms. Rashida K. Chaudhary? But before I do that, I was reminded of the time constraints that we have. So if I may request the panelists to keep their remarks maybe within 4 to 5 minutes, I would really appreciate that. We started a little late, and also I think we're running against time at this point. So Ms. Rashida Chaudhary, you have been for decades been advocating and catalyzing education reform from not only within civil society, but also from within government. And you work with a segment of population that are often marginalized in the education system. So what do you see the critical changes that need to be created in the education system so that we can be future ready? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear moderator. Can you hear me loud and clear, I suppose? Honorable chief guest and distinguished panelists, and those who have been watching us on Facebook Live. Good evening to everybody. Nice to see people remotely though. And this is World Youth Day. Before I respond to your questions, I would like to felicitate and salute hundreds and thousands of our young workers who have been working in the field, abroad, everywhere, earning for Bangladesh. And that's what we have been talking about, how to pay our respect, but also how to enrich them with skills. Now, coming to your questions, well, let me also thank the Yasir Razvan for that thought-provoking presentation, Get Future Ready. In response to your questions, I suppose I have, few recommendations to make, particularly our planning minister is here. He is well respected for his action-oriented programs, which we need very much at this point of time. And well, talking about some other things that I heard in this particular session, as a human rights advocate, I would definitely focus on and demand ICT for all, ICT justice. And that's the need of the hour at this point of time, because we are not reaching out to many. It's not ICT or whatever skills or whatever developments we have, it's still not for all. So responding to your questions, yet critical reforms that we need. One, I should say, interministerial coordination, because skills providers, I suppose 23 ministries. And is there enough coordination among those ministries? And just giving one example, how many times the Ministry of Education, the main skills provider, sits with the employers or asking them the questions that, okay, within next 10 years, what sort of skills do you want? This type of coordination we need, interministerial coordination, and then multi-stakeholder cooperation, including all non-state providers, from NGOs to private sector. So this is my second point. And third, the most important, last but not the least, listening to the youth. How many of us have been listening to the young people, particularly at the ground level, the young farmers or the young entrepreneurs, those who are trying, or even those who have got the skills but practicing that in the field. So listening to the youth and asking them what sort of demands they have. Here comes my next recommendation or demand to our planning minister rather, that it's not only listening to them, but we need to have research and training. How many types of research do we have on skills, demand? Supply side research already ILO has done, thanks to them. UNDP has done, but about demands, when we need independent third-party research, may not be by foreign consultants. We have enough expertise existing at this point of time. So we could go for research. When we went for research, asking for them, what sort type of young people from 15 to 35 age group, most of the women, they said we need short courses, not diploma, not degree, but short certificate courses, because our families don't allow us to go for long-term training. So listening to them and designing our programs like that kind of reforms we need, thanks to our government, because this skills development policy 2011, it's really an out of the box policy. Recognition of prior learning. This has been introduced. A boy from Dolaikhal, he can get a certificate by appearing in the exams. So, but this recommendation, I would like to say this needs to be revised in terms, particularly in the light of COVID-19 lessons, skills development policy. And I suppose UNDP and ILO both have been reviewing and revising this skills development policy, but we need it to be focused on modern day skills, including soft skills, value-based skills. How many of our workers, those who are going abroad, have the negotiation skills? Recently, a research done by BRAC, it has come out with this particular report that 68% of them, they don't know how to negotiate. So these are some of the skills that need to be inbuilt within our skills development policy, methodologies, etc. And SDA chair is here, so we would definitely be asking or demanding requests. Other one that has been pointed out by Yasir, global worker. So the global citizenship that has been enshrined in the SDG declaration, it's now becoming a global worker thing. But again, the rights focused, not only, a market focused, but rights of workers has to be focused. So they have to communicate. So my final request to the government would be to look at the informal sector workers. We have more than 300,000 domestic workers in Dhaka city, ILO report. And their age group is 15 to 35. The most neglected, unrecognized sector, those who have been serving us, people like us, day and night, but not having the negotiation skills, not having the right, nothing. But at least NSDA has come up to provide some kind of training, and some NGOs have been providing training to domestic workers. So we have to go beyond the box. That's my final suggestion. Not only the formal sector, but informal sectors, young entrepreneurs. And I will tell finally the story of this tea garden worker from Sri Mongol. Our planning minister knows that area very well. She has been producing, she has become an entrepreneur. Last month I met her over, virtually, and trying to market her product. But the tea board, she doesn't know how to negotiate with the tea board. So these kind of small little skills for our people who are coming up. And this e-commerce has been flourishing like anything. Over the last 1.5 years, I know at least 122 women have been associated with them, coming up using e-commerce, marketing online, product, etc. So we have to think out of the box. Thank you so much for listening to me, but this is coming from the field and, working with the people. That's what I may become a little emotional, but that's what I would like to say. Thank you, Anil.
Rashida, thank you very much for bringing that human perspective to our skills development. I think you talked about something very, very important towards them, which is micro skills. And I want to draw attention to Azman Bhai, that while you talk about online masters, I think perhaps we should also think about micro skills and how we could impart micro skills at very different levels instead of a big degree like a master's or even any kind of tertiary degree. And these micro skills could come. The world has become micro. It's a sachet world, right? Shampoos are available in small sachets. So why not skills? So I think that's something for us to really think about. Shudipto. Thank you. Thank you, Azman Bhai. Let me move on to Shudipto again, thinking about the time constraint. Shudipto, you always talk about leaving no one behind. This issue has become even much more relevant now than ever before. for a number of reasons. Automation because of fourth industrial revolution, climate change, political and economic migration, and now the pandemic. So how do you see the collaboration between UNDP and Grameenphone make the marriage between the present and future needs and the supply? So we need some sort of a marketplace. It could be physical, virtual, some sort of marketplace where the demand meets the supply, or rather supply meets the demand. And how will this collaboration support continuous generation of data and insights between these two perspectives, the supply and the demand side? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Good morning, Anil, and good evening, everybody else. Let me start by actually sort of recognizing the presence of my favorite minister, and also thanking Rashida for many thought-provoking ideas, and also the previous speakers. Each of them had something to enrich the discussion this evening. Let me start with one thing that you mentioned right at the beginning. I think, it's important that if we have to leave no one behind, we must need good data. We must know who's being left behind. We must know where they are. We must understand why are they being left behind. We must know which are the new occupations that are coming in, which are the old occupations that are becoming useless. We must be market driven. The data must be market driven. And I think we did hear about research being not enough investments in research. I think this is important. We heard from Moshiur Rahman that good teachers are not available. So we need to know where the good teachers are to teach us in the new skills. So I think the large investments in understanding and actually getting good data and good analytics is something that the Grameenphone and the UNDP Bangladesh partnership can definitely work on. Definitely work on. I think this is definitely an area that we can work on. I want to go slightly beyond what you just asked me, because I think there are a few things that I want to raise it in terms of making sure that we are actually leaving no one behind. Number one, COVID has actually taught us that even the biggest corporates can actually be, left, not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow. And given that situation, I think it is very, very important that not only we have good data and we have actually, know where people are and who needs support, etc. We must have a social protection system that is able to take care of people when they are in crisis. And we should be able to use that very quickly. And I say this with a certain degree of humility, but truly enough, even agencies such as UNDP, along with government, we've had to struggle. We had to struggle to know who the new poor are. We didn't know how to reach out to them. The third area, and I think this is extremely important, that a lot of people have talked about the digital, skills which are required. And I also thank the VC of National University for picking on something which is on the investment in values. I think it's extremely important, because we are not only going to create androids or machines, but we want to create human beings who will actually serve society and the planet. We need good human beings, but at the same time, we also must recognize that we are no longer speaking about only Bangladesh. We are no longer speaking about the subcontinent. We are no longer speaking of Asia Pacific. We are speaking of the whole planet, and therefore people will need to have global skills, and skills that also make them emotionally intelligent, make them social and good human beings. It is extremely important to particularly protect women in the workforce. And I say this because there are a number of studies which have shown in recent times that if there is somebody, one bunch of people across the globe, not just in Bangladesh, not just in India, but even in America, who have actually lost jobs disproportionately, it's women. And for them, it's not livelihoods or just having a job is not a question of just income. It is a question of identity. It is a question of having a voice in the board of decisions that are made, and losing out on those women's voices is something that we need to protect, and we need to protect women much better by creating the right kinds of other support systems, other social protection systems that can allow women to actually engage in better. And the final thing, I have to say this, because at the end of the day, it is the leg behind people who actually end up in such terrible workplaces. We had a room 1 tragedy. This is the 4th or 5th tragedy that I've been in Bangladesh in the last 5 years. Completely unacceptable to any society, anywhere in the world. We must be able to make workplaces safer from infection, from abuse, from disasters, etc. And one disaster, one room burns is one too many. Finally, I want to end up with 2 things. You know, there is a very articulate Indian spiritual person named Sadhguru. Not that I listen to him often, but I remember listening to one of his many discourses, and he had said, skill India or kill India. And I want to say, skill Bangladesh or kill Bangladesh. So I think, you know, the investment in skills is something that is important. We have to get away from the university education mindset. We have to be able to do short courses like Rashida mentioned, and make sure that we are able to invest in skills. And finally, I want to end up with something that I've heard from you, Anir, about the Honorable Prime Minister saying, Sheikh Hasina saying, you have mentioned to me that she used to say that if you want to go quickly, walk alone. If you want to go together, if you want to go far, you have to walk together. I'm going to add one more dimension to it. I think we not only need to walk together, we have to run together, because we are sitting on an emergency right now. Thank you very much for giving me the attention.
Thank you, Sudipto. On the note of running together, let me come to Ms. Lotte Kaiser from ILO. So in Bangladesh, we are still existing in ambiguity regarding setting goals. As the UN agency for skills, I mean, ILO is the UN agency for skills supporting all governments, especially developing governments, on setting goals skills. What can you do to support the government and also this partnership, UNDP partnership, to set meaningful but aggressive goals? Because we don't want to walk together but run together, so that we can make significant progress, measured progress towards the 2041 vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Based on the situation that we don't have much time left, and as you said, we have to run also on this issue, I will stand on protocol, but I simply wish to acknowledge the distinguished panelists, organizers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and greetings on the occasion of the World Youth Skills Day. From the ILO, we're grateful for the invitation to be present at this evening's webinar, Get Future Ready. And we commend and applaud the organizers, UNDP and Grameenphone, for this timely initiative on the day of World Youth Skills Day, which concerns a challenge which continues to be one of the main concerns globally, as well as in Bangladesh, and which situation has indeed further deteriorated since the onset of COVID-19. We appreciate all the insightful remarks made by all the panelists so far, which have elaborated on a range of perspectives and issues relating to the issue. First and foremost, as several panelists have mentioned, it's important to realize that the issue we're discussing today is taking place on the backdrop of an ongoing crisis, which has taken place for so long that it has almost become normalized in the thinking of many. Globally, more than 1 out of 6 youth are out of work due to COVID-19. And as Guy Ryder, DG of the ILO, has emphasized, if immediate and comprehensive action is not taken to improve the situation of youth as a matter of immediate priority and urgency, then the legacy of COVID-19 will be with us for decades, and it will reverse decades of gains which we have made so far. However, as we know, even before the onset of COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis, 1/5 of young people worldwide were not in employment, education, or training. In Bangladesh, this number is 37 million of young persons, which disproportionately consist of women, rural, poor youth, people living with disabilities, and minorities. And as for the young people who are employed, they tend to be concentrated in informal and precarious jobs that render them particularly vulnerable to income and job losses. However, after the onset of COVID-19, the situation has no doubt deteriorated significantly for young people. It is due to the fact that education and training has been severely disrupted, and this will result in reduced opportunities for future employment and earnings as a result, as many have dropped out and are unlikely to resume their training and education. Furthermore, the continuing waves of the pandemic and resulting job losses and the collapse of businesses and startups is reducing current earnings and employment, and will have the effect of undermining the rights at work. Thirdly, greater obstacles in making the education to work transition, re-entering the labor market, and trying to further transition to better jobs is also disrupted. In Bangladesh, 15% of youth who were employed before the pandemic are now out of jobs. During the pandemic, the challenges of youth in the labor market have magnified, particularly due to the poor quality of education and limited experience and skill, as well as limited job opportunities. This is again particularly affecting the marginalized groups, young women, rural youth, minority youth, and youth living with disabilities, who mostly do not have access to the quality education and skills development, and the disparity is significant. In terms of the fourth industrial revolution skills, supply and demand issues, as well as the disconnect between the supply and demand, it severely affects the skills ecosystem. As a result, the demand for 4IR skills can currently be met by the existing training institutes, as they cannot, in their current condition, provide future-ready skills due to their currently insufficient physical, technological, and human infrastructure. Hence, the overriding priority for today and for the future is to ensure that the youth of Bangladesh have access to suitable and affordable quality skills development to meet the requirements of the fourth industrial revolution, and that adequate investments are made to address this issue. If not, as our DG of the ILO is saying, several generations of young people will be condemned to a life in precarious, unproductive, and indecent employment. And this is particularly true for the marginalized groups I mentioned. If so, the much wished for development potential of the demographic dividend may not be realized, and Bangladesh development plans may therefore be set back. The ILO's Future of Work report specifically addresses these challenges to education and skills development, and it sets out an agenda for how to ensure that economic, social, political, and technological changes under the fourth industrial revolution are harnessed for human-centered development and decent work, rather than constituting uncontrolled technological development undermining livelihoods and security of people, and through precarious work growing in inequality and social injustice, which will result in growing social conflict and social instability. Hence, the ILO support for the government of Bangladesh in providing the conditions for youth to get the fourth industrial revolution ready while ensuring human-centered development is the following. Increase investment in people's capabilities. This enables people to acquire skills, reskill and upskill throughout life, and it will support them throughout transitions. To do so, skills and lifelong learning policies must be developed with a strong linkage to social protection and broad macroeconomic policies, such as fiscal and industrial policies. Investing in institutions of work to strengthen the building blocks of a just society, such as regulations, employment contracts, collective agreements, and labor inspection systems. These institutions allow workers to negotiate the design and the contents of their work and adopt a human-in-command approach, which actively embrace, shape, and apply suitably designed technologies rather than being driven and victimized by them. Furthermore, investing in decent and sustainable work, which highlights the need to create a new and decent works in the new economy. ILO support to the government of Bangladesh over the last 10 years and in the recent years through the ILO Skills 21 project supported by the EU concerns developing young people to a future-ready workforce and entails the following components: policies and strategies, national qualification frameworks, notably the Bangladesh National Qualification Framework, the NSDP, and they consist of modern day skills, competency-based skills linking various education and training pathways so that people are flexible and can keep developing and upskilling throughout life. Strengthening the future-ready training environment, meaning institutes and centers for skills excellence, which includes capacity building and upskilling of trainers, assessors, and managers. Developing future-ready skills, curriculum programs, knowledge products, again, based on competence-based training, e-learning platforms, recognition of prior learnings, market-responsive skills, and entrepreneurship programs. Finally, future-ready workplaces, such as apprenticeship, employment support services, etc., etc. In all of the mentioned components, the issues of providing access and ensuring inclusivity for groups who are marginalized, which is a significant part of the Bangladeshi youth when it comes to education and training, is important and is mainstream throughout the interventions I have mentioned. Finally, for the sake of time, I would simply like to mention that ILO's expertise and experience, as well as its tripartite nature, meaning that employers and workers are members, and finally, its mandate and function as a global labor standard setting agency makes it a natural partner for the government of Bangladesh and its partners in the continued quest to ensure that Bangladeshi youth can meet the demands of the labor market of the future and will be able to widely access the required education and skills training, and in this way be able to obtain decent and productive employment in the future labor market. ILO is very proud of the work and results we have achieved with the government of Bangladesh and its partners and stakeholders to address these important priorities, and we look forward to continuing to partner and support the government of Bangladesh in the future in its quest to ensure that the Bangladeshi youth have access to quality and suitable future-proof education and skills training. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have taken up to this panel discussion. It was very rich, very meaningful, insightful, and it will be unwise for me to summarize such a rich and insightful discussion. But I feel that we've made good progress towards building that crystal ball. So thank you all the panelists. I see that we have identified a few key focus areas for this partnership between UNDP and Grameenphone. I'll mention a few that I noted. Number one is data for decision making to make the right and timely marriage between demand and supply. Number two is micro skills development in soft skills such as communication, negotiation, and collaboration, and some hard skills in technology and micro entrepreneurship. And number three is disproportionately prioritizing the needs of the marginalized on the supply side, including meaningful social protection when jobs are lost. I've also heard commitment from all the panelists to represent the brain trust for skilling and reskilling the country towards fulfillment of our Vision 2041. So congratulations to all the panelists, triggered by the keynote presentation by Mr. Yasir Azman. It's been an honor to have moderated this discussion. Back to you, Asad.
Right. Thank you very much, Anir Bhai, for your very live and engaging moderation. And thank you very much, all the panelists, distinguished panelists, for your very insightful remarks and as well as forward-looking recommendations. And Anir Bhai has very nicely captured all these things in a way that really gives a kind of way forward for UNDP and Grameenphone to work together in coming days and together with the government to make it a kind of practical and pragmatic. Thank you once again, all the panelists and Anir Bhai. Now I come to our honorable chief guest, and now I'd like to request our honorable chief guest, Mr. M. Mannan MP, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Planning, People's Republic of Bangladesh, to give his remarks and speech for us. We know, Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Siddhaman, and my good wishes and deep respects for all the participants this evening here. But of course, I must particularly mention UNDP and Grameenphone, who appear to have taken the lead initiative in organizing this event. And of course, I recognize the presence of two very permanently resident partners with our development efforts, UNDP and ILO, who live and work with us in Dhaka. And on behalf of the government of Bangladesh, being a government functionary, I'm very pleased to recognize their very valuable contribution to our development efforts and friendship, and their abiding interest in our big struggle towards change. You are very close witness to what we are doing in this country at this moment. This matter which we have discussed this evening with regard to skill, future ready, get future ready. Skills relevant to our time, it seems so. Skill which is absolutely of necessity at this moment. And I didn't say any further on that. That is very important for us to be up and doing and learning and using the skills so that we can move forward as fast as we would like to. The discussions, particularly we started with the keynote paper from Yasir Azman, who has experience in this field and who is at this moment also heading an organization which is very relevant to what we are talking today. Modern skills, the present day skills, the cutting edge skills, which is of course digital skill, and Grameenphone is one of the players in that field. So I would begin by thanking Yasir for his very valuable paper and for his collaboration with Sujipto and his UNDP. I am also very happy to note that our functionaries of the government, very important functionaries, starting with Anil Chaudhary, who is in the PMO, this very important A2I programs, which has been here for some years now. So Anil, and then we have a distinguished academic person, the Vice Chancellor of our National University, Professor Mushur Rahman. And we have Dulal Krishna Shaha, another government functionary who is also sits in the PMO and probably, and not probably, he is responsible for spearheading a part of this very important learning process. And of course, we have our Rashida Chaudhary, who has been in this very wide field of education, particularly education with relevance to the real needs, particularly her emphasis towards the lower end of the market. So that's very important, and she has the experience and the skill also in this matter. So overall, it's been a very useful round of discussion, and everyone has been able to contribute. And I'm sure the government would benefit through participation through our functionaries here who will be here this evening. And I'm sure this collaboration and this sort of interactions will continue in the coming days. I should also particularly mention about this master class initiative that Yasir was mentioning. They and Sujipto, they and UNDP have launched or are in the process of launching. I'm not still fully aware of the full details, but of course we'll get to know more about it in the due course. And Dulal, particularly of our PMO, Dulal Krishna Shaha, and Vice Chancellor of our National University, Dr. Mashur, probably they will be more interested. They they can be useful also in this process. I think you can find some link with their work and your work. So I hope with this initiative we'll have more value addition in this very important field. And this will not stop here. There can be other initiatives. Particularly, I can see initiative from a national university. So that they have a very long arm spread all over the country through the syllabus for their private colleges and the universities which they overlook. So I would like to say that it's been very pleasing for me and very learning also another look at it on this very important subject. And I'm sure our collaboration with UNDP and with ILO and in a sense with Grameen also and others will continue, and together we can make this journey, as Shulita said, running towards our goal. Hopefully we'll be able to reach our desired destination, which has a meaning with regard to world get future ready, skill get future ready. That's very, I'm a very old age person. Get future ready. I've got to get used to this slogan. I'm sure I'll pick it up later on. And I want to be aware actually also of this World Youth Skills Day. I got to know about it just now, having come into this seminar. So for all of this value addition to myself and this chance of meeting you, many of you whom for repeated times and some of you for the first time, particularly the distinguished ILO representative here in Dhaka and others, Professor Mashur Rahman also of National University. I think I'm meeting him for the first time. So for all of you, my deep respects and assurance of government's continued abiding collaboration and friendship and assistance. We would like to work hands in hand with you so that our very large goal of transforming this country in so many ways is possible and is realizable in our own, particularly in my lifetime, not many years, I think, but in my lifetime and in the lifetime of many of you who are much younger than me. So having said that, let me once again thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for asking me to join you this evening. And good luck to all of you in your efforts. Jai Bangla, Jai Bangla. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Sir, as usual, you actually always speak from your heart, we know, and you are very eloquent. So here also we get a kind of very forward-looking proposal and invite for all of us, and that definitely will help us to really bring this issue forward. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, once again. With this note, since we are already late, now I want to invite Ms. Van Nguyen, Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP Bangladesh, to offer her vote of thanks for our distinguished panelists, chief guests, and all of us, the participants. Over to you, Van.
Thank you so much, Asad. Distinguished guests, a very good evening to all of you. And it gives me an immense pleasure to deliver a vote of thanks for this very important event to all dignitaries who are here. So first, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to our distinguished chief guest, Honorable Minister of Planning, Mr. Aman MP, for being with us today, despite your very busy schedule. And I see that you are still in the office, so my very high respect to you, and we thank you so much for your time that you spend with us, and also for all those insights that you have to share with us. This is so inspirational. So this moment is an important opportunity for all of us. As the minister said, you know, when we think about get future ready, this is also the time where we want to reimagine. You know, we are good at imagining, but it is not very good at reimagining. So now this is the time. So we reimagine how and what education and skills can be delivered, you know, to prepare our young people for a rapidly changing and challenging world of employment, of work, and of jobs. So to be successful in that future of work, the young generation will need appropriate hard and soft skills, and I would say that soft skills are even more important than hard, and as well as the resilience, being resilient, and that we need to keep learning, and we all know that learning can never be stopped. You know, we learn throughout our life. So my very heartfelt thanks to Mr. Yasir Azman, Chief Executive Officer of Grameenphone, for presenting the keynote, which contains, you know, your commitments from Grameenphone for working on this very important topic issue, and working together with all partners, and in particular with the government and young people, and for your, you know, engagement and support as we take all of us joyful to take the nation forward. We are also very grateful to the also enlightened panelists, Dr. Mashur Rahman, Vice Chancellor, National University, Mr. Dulan Krishna Saha, Executive Chairman, Bangladesh Skills Development Authority, Ms. Rasheda Chowdhury, Executive Director, CAMPI, and Ms. Lotte Kese, Chief Technical Advisor, International Labour Organization, and of course my dear boss, Sudipto Mukherjee, Resident Representative of UNDP, for your insightful discussion. So finally, I would not be able to say to conclude without saying thank you so much to Anir Chowdhury, our policy advisor of A2I UNDP, for your excellent moderation of the program. So once again, thank you all the respected panelists and all young people who are joining us today at this event, and please stay safe. Please stay healthy, and Eid Mubarak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Van Nguyen, for your very, I would say, encouraging and insightful thanks that you really expressed, that it came from your bottom of the heart. We can see and we can feel as well. And once again, thank you very much, everyone, our Honorable Minister, panelists, and distinguished guests. And particularly thanks Grameenphone for joining hands with UNDP for observing this World Youth Skills Day. And as Yasir Azman Bhai said, this is not really the end of the day celebration, rather as it started with few other events. And as he already declared that a master class, an event that will be also going to be launched very soon. And I'm sure that that will really kind of pave our further collaboration and partnership in coming days. With this note, with the kind permission of chief guest, I just want to end of our webinar and wish you good luck and stay safe. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.